Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It is me, Browserflowers. We're back here again in Tiny Glade, and we're going to be completing the rest of this build. What I wanted to do was to build a gardener's little home over here in this corner between these trees, and I think we'll be done. I'm pretty sure that's when we'll be done. We might put a little garden around his little house, and he or she or whatever, and then call it. I think we'll call it done. I think we'll be done. The first Tiny Glade town I've ever built in my entire life, and I'm excited for this. I am a little bit sad to say goodbye to this chapter, but hey, he knows. He knows if I decide to extend it. But this is going to be exciting. I am excited. You're excited. Let's get in. Oh my god, that's so adorable. Alright, let's change it to day. Back in time. Whoop. Yay! Let's see. Should we give them a roundhouse? That's kind of giving a little bit like, what's his name from Harry Potter. We don't want that. We don't want that. We don't want that. We'll see. I feel like this town needs a gardener home. Ooh. Okay. Perhaps we should explore a bit there. Oh my god. Fun. Interesting. That's kind of cute. I actually didn't think it would take that much space, but it looks like it is. Gardener home we build right now. How exciting. Wow. It just does its thing. Just making sure that looks good. I don't know if I want a square. I'm kind of going for non-traditional gardener home. You see, when I think of a gardener, I think of a gnome. When I think of a gardener, I think of wheelbarrows. When I think of a gardener, I think of a shed. Yeah. How do you destroy this side of the wall? Wait, can I put a door there? How far can we go with this? Oh, we can. We can definitely do that. Nice. Alright, we might want to just take a step back a bit. I mean, whoa. I'm thinking of a little cute gardener home. We need some room, so we're gonna just try and cut this wall in half. I believe that is... there's a way to do it, I believe. Right click. Oh, there we go. So we'll slice that up there. Destroy that wall. Go back to this, click there, click right, click on the wall. Right on the wall. Right click on the wall and then click, left click, and then you can click on the rubber tool and click on the hammer. And we'll smash down the wall like so. Yeah. There we go. There's the foundation of the home. We can just drop down that wall. I believe we can do that. So there's the foundation. The Gardner home will be that size, I reckon. Humble size for a humble, hard-working gardener. Because their passion is gardening. So we need a little room. We need to make a little bit of room for their hobbies. Or their tools. I reckon. Wow, that's on a slope. Interesting. Okay, so we've got the foundation on. I feel like now we can try and like, cause I feel like that would be a good draft sketch, right? In the game, there's no like actual like option to do that. But I feel like if you click the fence, you can, you know, draft the building of the design of the building of what you want, and then you can go on top and build. What you want to have. See? Like so. Now that we've got that almost straight cubic home, just get a little bit more. Doesn't have to be exactly straight, but I kind of want it to be visible to the path. So when you look at it, definitely has defined lines, very straight. Okay, and then we can just put the building, click this house button, and then place it next to this. Oh! Hey, that kind of works. Give them a downstairs, upstairs. Hey. Little luxury for the gardener. And then I kind of wanted to honestly put one on the ground. So, a little humble home. Sweet. There's a little bit of disconnect there, but I can work with that. I feel like I can work with that. Oops. That wasn't actually. May not be completely straight. Don't you just love how you can spin that thing? So we're going to spin it just a little bit so it's even out. We want it kind of straight. I kind of want it straight. Okay, well, you know what it is. It's kind of like, well, he lives in the forests and he's kind of like, he's not a fictional character, but in this world, you could argue that he is a fictional character, but he lives in a home that is not particularly built 100% straight. What would you call it? The angle is definitely not 90 degrees. I don't know angles. Let me just quickly check. 90-degree angle. Oh yeah, it's definitely not 90 degrees. Well, this one isn't. Does that make it better? Okay, fine. Let's stick with that. The 90 degrees angle. Alright, let's try and work with this. Random build for a random gardener. Could we actually extend that? Could we actually extend the top building? And yes, we can. Nice. There we go. Alright, and after you do that, I want you to drag that wall just in a little bit. There we go. Just make this one 90 degrees as well. There we go. So we've got a little bit of roof on the side. Kind of giving a little bit of like a Japanese influence, but not so much. I don't know what you would call this. Down, down dog, up dog, down dog, up dog. Okay, up. Alright, so, ooh, did I want that? I'm not sure. Ooh, did I want that? Yes, that's kind of what I was looking for. That's kind of giving a very European style. I don't really know, to be honest. So we're going to now click on the hammer. So raise the fence. The draft. The draft, right? We had a draft. Yeah, we're going to raise that. Ooh, there's like lighting coming through there. Is there a gap? No, there isn't a gap. But I kind of want it to be like, you know, if the gardener was to go in, they could go into the bedroom and they'll have to go up these little stairs. So I kind of wanted that to be like his bedroom, you know, sort of like his little bedroom, his bathroom here, his bedroom there, or the attic part, or the reading room here, his newspaper room, whatever, where he can have tea and coffee, like a little miniature sunroom, or like a little attic room, what takes him up to the attic. And then, so there's a stairs that goes from there, and then that's his room, that's the second level, and then up here, the stairs goes up that way into the attic. That's kind of what I had in mind. And downstairs, well, that's both entrance, and you can have a stairs that goes down to the entrance, down to the ground floor, and then you have another step on that side that goes up back into the bedroom. Then over here is the main entrance of the home, which is the front door, and you can put his coat in there, or that could be the where you place your shoes, I guess, before you enter the home, before you enter the house. Because if you're like a gardener, I'd imagine your shoes get really dirty. So could be inspired by a Asian household. I don't know. First, let's put some. You know what? Let's put the windows on. Oh, the chimney. Let's put design the chimney first. Chimney. Give me the chimney. Or again, a gardener, so he's gonna be less polished. A gardener for this type of world that he's in is going to be less polished for sure. Now, when I'm thinking of a gardener, I think of the character's name, sort of like what type of name it would have. Would it be eccentric, or would it be very common, a common name, or a very like well-respected name? I don't know. But as a, you know, I like to think as myself as a writer when it comes to these things as well. You gotta really be creative in that aspect. Is that 90 degrees? Is that now 90 degrees? You can also trick the mind's eye with different shading of colors, different tones on the roof, like so. Really creates interest in the storyline behind the building as well. That, you know, I reckon it could be insinuating that the story behind this build is that he might have had to build it on a regular schedule. So yeah, I think that builds a lot of rich storytelling. Story and character. Cool. So let's change that. I'm kind of getting annoyed with this same cut loose here. There we go. Can we not have that? I really, prefer something else. Not the basic. Because if we're gonna have those wooden panels, like frames, whatever that is, could we have it in a different color? Because it's kind of getting annoying. Brown. But then I didn't want that pink there. So change that. But that doesn't make any sense with the roof. Alright, let's just try and fickle with and like I said, I didn't want it to be polished, so we're going to aim for a less polished Gardner home. Even though it does sound like, oh, it'd be fun, it's a Gardner, they have lots of colours and stuff. Well, we're gonna do the complete opposite. We're gonna go, he's gonna be a grumpy gardener, but he's excellent at his job. He's a gifted, talented gardener, really good at gardening. A genius at gardening. But he kind of has an attitude. See, that's what we're kind of going for. An attitude type of gardener. Gardener with an attitude. Kind of suits. Yeah, kind of suits. Because I mean, honestly, look, when have you met a local gardener, okay, who's actually like... I'm just joking. I don't know. I mean, when I was a gardener, I used to work as a bush regenerator. That's why I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about. I used to work in the bush. In Australia, you actually get... Excuse me, let me hydrate just for like 1 second. In Australia, we actually have a lot of bush that surrounds our environment, and less of like the typical forest that you would see online or in pictures or on Pinterest on Pinterest. Like, we have more bush, and it's more like red soil and like eucalyptus trees, okay? And a lot of these plants are red. They kind of have like a fiery color to them. It's quite interesting if you do look into native plants of Australia. We do have a lot of red in our plants, like even in the trees and the grass. Like, a lot of our plants have more more colors of red pigments in them, which is really, really fascinating. And yes, we do have venomous plants, but anyway, I'm just saying that because people would think that, okay, so does that mean they're poisonous plants, venomous plants? Poisonous. We do have some poisonous plants, but I don't know if they're actually native. They could be introduced, I don't know. But anyway, actually, no, we do have one. Anyway, why am I going into this? Anyway, okay. I don't know, I'm just kind of interested. Like, I'm kind of interested in a lot of things, but I am getting really distracted. Off topic is what I'm trying to say. I'm going off topic. But yeah, it's kind of like that is the environment that you could imagine where I'm picking up a type of gardener, the character of a gardener in a fictional fantasy, what they'll be like, and also what kind of personality they'll have, you know, living next to a forest. So using real life characters that you've met in your life and kind of like twisting in a nice positive way a narrative of them, and drawing that inspiration, right, of these people, these interesting characters that you meet in real life, and drawing those characters and pulling them into your world that's a way of creating a fictional character. Because what are you gonna do? Just a fucking... What are we gonna do? We're gonna fucking rewrite humanity? Like, no. Because the more you try and do that, the more it just doesn't feel... It doesn't feel right in a fictional world. I don't know if that actually makes sense to people. But it makes sense to me. Okay? That's a way of writing a fictional character. It's another way of brainstorming without actually drawing the cloud on the piece of paper. You're actually just scanning your memory of who you've met in your life that inspires you or just is whimsical or just you don't really know much about them, but they just sort of give you where they give you ideas. They're just inspiring. And a lot of gardeners I'd say would inspire me because they bring life into the world. I know it's weird to say that they're not pregnant people, but they do, like, you know, they do plant seeds and the seeds grow. I think that's really inspiring. I think that's a really inspiring career to have. And not do they just plant seeds. Like, I know people also experiment with seeds. Understand that? Because as a bush regenerator, ex-bush regenerator, I used to work in a nursery as well, so we would like collect seeds, eucalyptus seeds, and we would also try and plant them. Really, that was really exciting, and that's kind of reshaping the world that you live in as well, which I thought was really fascinating. That really underestimating the power of being a gardener, essentially. Yeah, it's a gift. Definitely a gift. That's kind of quirky. So I'm just gonna hydrate for a quick second. Give him a side door there. I've also thought, actually, that's pretty good. Actually, I really like that. Very Australian inspired. I recently went to an Australian museum and I loved it. It was a convict museum. I've never seen anything like it before, and it gave me so much information about my like local area. And essentially gave me background into why I was experiencing things that just didn't make any sense. I felt like I was isolated, that's what I'm trying to say. I feel like I was isolated in my experience, but turns out that, you know, I've got some similarities with convicts. I definitely do. The convicts in the past. I wouldn't be that confident in saying that I have some similarities, but I would say the similarities kind of is there. Okay, it's not solid common ground, but you know. Ooh, I didn't know I could build that. That's kind of cool. I just removed that. That's definitely interesting. I didn't know that we could do that. It gives a very, again, rich story. Alright, so anyway, we're going back to this. We're not doing that. I just wanted to experiment there. Let's see. Stones, perhaps. Gardner home. this is I actually forgot to talk when I was building this part of the build. You guys, hello, it's me. Welcome back to the channel. I am Browserflowers. I just realized after watching back, and now I'm editing the video, that I didn't actually record me talking while I was building. I got really focused. But anyway, here I am, and I'm doing a little voiceover for this part of the video. So, just jumping into the build. So actually, what I'm doing here is I am trying to correct the build. I've obviously lost the chimney, so you can't see the chimney there anymore. It's just disappeared. And I didn't know that until after I started editing the video, that I realized that I lost the chimney. That I had a whole bit for the chimney, but I had to cut it out. But anyway, so there's me adding a random door to that brick. And I actually really like the aesthetic, but unfortunately I don't believe I used that side. I believe I pushed the door more to the left, but anyway, and there's me using the stair design. I was fiddling with it, trying to figure out what I wanted to do with the backyard of this gardener's home, and then it turns out that no, I actually wanted to pave him like a path in his backyard, so he had somewhere nice to just drink his coffee and his tea and to relax, and really had that vision in my mind when I was building the backyard. And then obviously the stairs has been put into place now, so I had an issue a little bit with it because I thought that it was going to be I thought that the lighting was going to kind of correct itself, but still it actually worked into my advantage having a lighting. You'll see later once we go back to the stairs. Now I'm just putting windows on the brick wall. Oh my god. Okay, now we're back to the stairs. Okay. Okay, no we're not. Now we're back to... Oh god, this is difficult. Okay, this is me removing some trees. And then I removed some more trees, just getting rid of a lot of shadows, obviously. Yeah, like so. Yeah, so that's a good tip. If you did want to remove shadows that's blocking your designs, like you want the light to hit your building, but there's too many dark spots, maybe... Beautiful! Okay, so try using the hammer tool and hammering down some trees to get rid of the shadow spots that's covering your build. That usually works. And there's me fixing the fence. I'm extending the fence, and you'll see later that I actually change it. That's actually not too bad. However, I did have a problem with the shadow creating sort of like a weird pattern there with the fence, so I didn't want that. So I've decided I want it more natural looking. So when you get into the game, it actually feels like it was intentionally built that way. And with the shadow of the tree, you know, that tree pattern shadow on the grass there, just really... It really makes it round. Really rounds out the design. But anyway, we're at the front of the house, and there's me fixing these objects. I really wanted them to not stand out too much. I didn't want people to really focus on the objects. I wanted people to more, rather than focus on the objects that's surrounding the house, I wanted people to focus more on the environment and how it feels when entering this world. So that's what I really focus on when it comes to building in these type of games, and it really does pop out at the end. You'll see that later. But here's me again going back to the backyard where there's stairs, and I was talking about it, then I just flipped the camera around. But this is me building the backyard for the gardener, so that's where he can have his little coffee and his little lunch. Um, and I'm paving the path here from the front door, and it leads to the garden. And the garden to his front door. Then I also pave the path around the block towards towards this like entrance just between those two blocks there. And it's quite fun because you can imagine maybe the gardener would walk through that gap there to enter to the other side of his building. So there's a lot of little details like that that you really want to focus on when you want to build a building in Tiny Glade that feels like there are people living in there and it's not just empty homes. It really creates, again, like a very strong visual of life living amongst the buildings, which is a fun fantasy to comes to creating and designing in Tiny Glade. Now, this is the fun part. I love like when you're paving out the floor, the path on the grass, and then like you just have random pop-up items like that, like the fence popping up a gate door, and also those fruits items. They're pretty fun to just watch when they pop out randomly, which is I don't know, I just find it so adorable. And the surprising elements of the game really just makes it far more enjoyable to play because you don't know what's going to happen next. You usually don't get that in building games. You usually know what happens beforehand. But in this game, a lot of things can surprise you, which I find really I just find it enduring, and I find it attractive. I find it like fun. Find it very fun. It's almost like an adventure. Like, I think that's really great. So here's me. Oh, that's a beautiful scene with the birds flying through there. Oh my gosh, chef's kiss. So there's me zooming out of the build, and that's what you should be doing with your builds is have a break in between. So this is like what, past 25, we're on 30 minutes now, maybe. So it's always good to zoom out of your map a little bit and just to suss out what you've just done for the past 30 minutes, maybe every 30 minutes have a break. And also change the lighting settings. As you can see, I did there. I changed the lighting from like, it looked like it was afternoon to, or it was morning to midday, or afternoon to midday. I don't know which way it was. And just really analyzing like where can you go from here, and kind of visualizing in your mind's eye or in your mind, like what happens if the shade turns around? Like what happens if time moves, and where does the sun hit the building at a certain area or certain angle on the building? Really helps you kind of push your design beyond the limits. And yeah, it helps you explore, helps you like question what else can I do. So here's me adding a roof window after I just again tilted the whole tilted the whole lighting and zoomed out a bit, had a little break, and now we're back in building mode. And I am now just kind of fixing the backyard facade of the building and kind of visualizing what would, let's say, the gardener in this case, what would he be doing at this time of the day? What would his characteristics be like? What would he be doing, spending time in that building, in that upstairs part of the building? What would he be doing that I find that suits his character? Let's say, for instance, the laundry on the side there on the window, hanging out. Like, would he be hanging his laundry, or will he be like watering his plants on the windowsill? There's a couple details there that you kind of have to adjust to. Little details like that really paints the picture of what kind of world we're trying to bring here into the game, into the map that we're building in Tiny Glade. So there's me just settling with those two windows together at the back there. Now we're at the front facade, trying to just make sure everything's cohesive, and double clicking on these windows, making sure that they are rounded by design. So they have the florals there on the windowsill, like the back facade, and we want the front facade of the building to match the back, because it just follows through. It follows with the narrative, follows with the storyline that he's a gardener and he does do gardening, or she does do gardening, all around the house too, which is interesting. I would actually love another Tiny Glade version where you can build interior parts of a house. Like, that'd be sick. But again, Tiny Glade is about is about Tiny Glade, the word Tiny Glade, which is, I understand that, which, yes. Now, moving on from that fictional idea I have in my mind, there's me turning the house a bit, just trying to play with the motion of the build. I don't know what you would call it, but there's me adjusting the small window there, just really painting. Like I was saying earlier, I wanted that part to be his bedroom, or the entrance to his bedroom. So I was really thinking about that as I put the window in that center of the wall. And then there's me just, again, reviewing the sides that I haven't really paid attention to. And there's me putting, again, the basement details in the build, putting the doors there and putting the windows, just really trying to narrow down what functionality would take place in the basement building of this build, because clearly there's so many levels of this building. I have no idea how to describe it. It's not a, I wouldn't say it's a typical building, especially like the everyday gardener, that they wouldn't live in a weird house like this. But in the Tiny Glade world, you can build a very fantasy fictional home for your characters that obviously don't exist in the game, but you can imagine, well, what functionality would this building have for my imaginary character? And using that concept of playing in Tiny Glade really helps your designs, and I actually find it quite enjoyable. Just trying to solve that puzzle, that imaginary puzzle, which really helps, again, with playing the game in a more I guess logical way, and not just self-expression, not just creativity, but in a more logical way as well. And it really ties the laces together, really just makes it make sense too. That's another thing that really is taken into consideration when it comes to building a fictional home for a fictional character in anything when it comes to story writing or comic designing, and also in like this type of game, Tiny Glade, building a home or a house for a character that doesn't exist, which it's crazy, because at the end, I just find this character concept really does help, because it addresses why there's like a random fence that connects to the tree there. Like, it really addresses why there's sheeps around, why there's like birds that fly around the building randomly. It really just addresses a lot of these nuances that you wouldn't particularly address when you're building in a video game. And it really does tie everything together. And now you can see that I've crossed off pretty much the property, so I blocked it off, so you can see how like that's very much his little property there, and then now I'm adding like all these little extra items there. That's at the stage where I'm at this point in the game, and I'm probably gonna stop talking now and start talking in the video, because I then realized I started building without talking while I was building and explaining. So I'm probably gonna start explaining in the video soon, but I've got a little bit of time left on this voice record. There is part of the dry foundation that I left in the building there. You can see right there on the bottom near the brick, the grey brick wall that's just randomly there. I need to delete that soon, but I don't know if I got that in footage. There's me adding a flag. I really thought I needed it, but then I kind of just reverted back to not using it. I'm pretty sure I explained it in the video. If I didn't, then I probably will explain it here. Working for me. We'll not do that. Let's not do that. don't want him to do any admin work while he's at home. Let's just not bother with that. It could be a she as well, you never know. The gardener could be a she, a he, a they. Never know. But they do deserve peace, I feel like. They definitely deserve peace at their own residence. And you know what? Since they a grumpy gardener, definitely should give them some like form of, I don't know, I just feel like it needs to be very tailored to a certain type of gardener. The design of this home has to kind of predict what am I saying? Has to kind of depict that in the design. Let me see. Should we give it purple? White? No. Let's see if that works for me. Whoop. Back to the color selection tool. That's camouflaged. Like, I'm gonna say that this gardener likes to bird watch as well, so camouflage the windows in the roof makes sense to me. That word won't make any sense. Can we go back to the window, make it white or something? Actually there we go. I was gonna say that kind of made no sense to jam it through the roof. What if I was there we go. I can settle for that. I don't want him to be working with stables because they already have like witch brooms. Like it's a magical town. Why would they need horses? It doesn't make any sense. So let's try and rectify this. Because why would they need, it doesn't make any sense. They already have witches' rooms. It's a magical town at this point, so I don't see why they need a horse stable ground. Self-control. So I keep saying. 90 degrees. Nah, I'm not happy with that. Oh my god. It's the cutest thing you've seen. Okay, so here we are. Now done with the foundation of the build. We're going to now start decorating the build. So this is like more of the detailed section of the game plan that I put together. And we're adding in wheelbarrows that have sunflowers, that have everything that a gardener would have in their residence, I would imagine. This is a fictional garden we're talking about here. I have no idea. But I do talk a little bit about my experiences working as a like a gardener myself in the game, but I won't get to that yet. So right now I'm focusing on the pot plants, the little decorations, facade, and like the backyard areas. Like, where would I put it? Just trying to figure out roughly the areas of where I can store things for the gardener, and where he would actually generally store them, if he was like playing in the game. Just again, it's a fictional character, but I do want to really kind of put his hobbies on display, and kind of like really design around that idea. And obviously he does, for a gardener, he needs pot plants around, so I included one just behind that storage, and I kind of just made it look like there's more to that storage than the usual empty box. Kind of wanted to give that image of like, it looks like it came with an extra plant inside it. So that was the idea. I don't know if I used that at the end, but there's me now just adding another pot plant on the other side, so it's identical, very symmetrical for the backyard facade. And then I do believe I do end up adding more pot plants around, again, to really just drill it in the idea that this is a gardener backyard, and it does end up resulting looking like that at the end, which is a good thing. Very good thing. Really love it. I love how it looks. Eventually does end up looking like a garden. At this stage, we're just adding more pot plants around the building, just to give myself some I guess you can say, a blueprint of where I can build around the decorations. So you put the pot plants around in certain points of the build, and then you can start adding to it from around these like points of the build, which really helps when it comes to selecting the items that you want to choose. And also color coordinating helps as well. So if you start with one color pot plant, stick to that and put it in all the points of the build, then you can add another second color, which is the blue plant that we see there that I'm utilizing, and you can just add it next to it, and it just, from there you can add the third color, the fourth color type of item or pot plant. It really does excel the pattern actually changes. It really does excel the look of the place. And here I'm giving reason to why he would have multiple pot plants of the same color, and I actually just stick with that concept, that idea, just stick with it, and it does end up working out on its own. There's me adding a ladder underneath the ladder, which is ironic, but it does work in a sense, because if you've ever been to, like, let's say a gardening shop in Australia, we have like a massive gardening shop. They usually have a lot of ladders. So if you just take note of some tools that you see in gardening shops, you can also add them into your game, which, if they have it for you to utilize in the game. And there's me utilizing the sunlight to my advantage, and adding the pots around the pole there, just so we can get the sunlight hitting the pot, and it just really has a nice detailed touch to that. And there's me adding more pot plants around the pole. There we go. So we've decorated the gardener's home, and I'll just put some flowers around. It's good to indicate that the hobbies of the character in this story is that the gardener does really do gardening. It's good to show that in the design by always placing a pot plant. That's a rule, okay? 100% a rule that you should follow. I follow that rule. Because how are you supposed to know if it's without any gardening pots? You're not gonna know. You're just gonna think it's just a home. Prior to that, it obviously looked like just a home. Didn't make any sense until I added these pot plants and flowers around, as I've also have experience working in a gardening environment and working in the bush, like I mentioned earlier. You can't go walking past a building without pot plants around. It's just not normal to not have plants around. So make sure you add a lot of these to really instill the narrative that it is a Gardner home. It might be a bit too much. In theory, it might look like it'll be too much, but definitely just gives you that edge in design that we're looking at a Gardner's home. This is definitely their workspace slash home, so hopefully that is something enjoyable. I'll just clean that up a bit. Too wild. And if you ever been to a national park, you can notice that sometimes they have native plants, and then sometimes they have like introduced plants that are controlled in a controlled environment, and they pop him around. They place him around so he looks nice. You can just tell that that is definitely maintained by a human, and gardening is maintained by a human. Yeah, always good to see that. Variation of plants. Whoop. Always good to see. We can do a little trick here. See? Nice little trick there. Pop them in the garden. Like so. Twist them around a bit so they look more realistic. They'll have the annoying factory type of feel. Just spin that around a bit. Gives us more of a definition, variation. I wish we had more, to be honest, I wish we had more variations of this type of really thing. Because I don't want to be seeing a lot of fruits. I want more flowers, but you know, it is what it is. Just gotta do it for now. Sorry, sheep. And let's say they want a path to the outside. So let's give them a path, a miniature one, a worker's path. There we go. them to be able to push the wheelie through the path. So just keep that in mind when you're building a path in Tiny Glade, that we need them to be able to have space, room for the wheelie to go on top of the path and not getting pulled to the side off the path and into the grass. The worst thing is to having to push your wheelbarrow through grass. If you've ever done that before, let me know. Especially because wheelbarrows are huge. They're not one of the easiest things to drag. I can tell you that from personal experience. I used to be a veggie farmer as well. I used to do many things. There we go. So there's an example. Instead of just having them parked in the grass, we can have them also parked on the pathway. That's an example of Gardner. Residence. Should I put trees here? Let's see. Should I put a tree here? Some more privacy. Or does that create shade? Oh, no, that's fine. That's actually... Oh, wait. That didn't make a difference, actually. What I would like to get rid of is some of this, so I can get some sunlight hitting in this direction. There we go. Isn't that beautiful? Now it's looking more like a secret garden. In the gardener's home. The garden's residence. A secret garden in the gardener's residence. What else could we add? These. And utilizing the sunlight rays. Always a good idea when it comes to building in Tiny Glade. There we go. We just need some flag indication that is also... Usually you see that in gardens, right? You see like labels. I don't know if it should be fine. Just put a label here so we can see what's going on. And we'll change the color of that to pink or something. For now, we'll just change also. Change that to... Yeah, there we go. We have a labeled... Again, there's use for every build, so we're not just randomly putting a flag here. The flag actually resembles the duty and obligations that this person who lives here, what their responsibilities are, and indicates a lot of... It just really resembles real life. If you have labels near... If you have labels near pot plants, it's so realistic. It's just, that's number one rule of a nursery, plant nursery. Everything must be labeled. I know that from experience. I do want to try and test if I can add some mod. Let's see if I can just... Oh yeah, there we go. Now that looks far more. That looks really good, I must say. There we go. Finishing the design there. And we could just add some more items to the build. I would like a more respectful fence there. Maybe if I can build one. A wall, like a fence. Even fence. Drop the size of the scaffold. And change the color. Suitable. I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I... It's an interesting exercise. Let's also try... I don't know, would it make sense if I was... There we go. That's something like, that's similar to what I had in mind. Excellent, cool. And then we'll add maybe this around. Perhaps. There we go. More of a gardening frame. Excellent. There we go. It's far more solid. So that's the nursery. Usually they have like fenced nurseries because we don't want the seeds to fly out of its area and run amok in the nature. In nature, like we don't want these seeds to spread to other areas without it being under control. That's how you sort of keep the environment in a balanced, controlled environment. It's ethical gardening. You'd know if you were a gardener. You know what I'm talking about. So that gives us an opportunity to plant some more flowers on the outside for the facade of the garden. Just gonna dab. Let's see, can I use a hot plant instead? Oh yeah. Far more vibrant and controlled. Beautiful. Because it is just the facade of the backyard entrance or the nursery entrance. Whatever you think is suitable. Should we have that tree there? Actually, that doesn't make any sense, does it? Have it in the garden, I guess. I suppose. It does disappear, but it does give it a little bit of a... What the heck? And then we'll connect this. Oh my gosh. Try and connect that to this wall. Excellent. Beautiful. That's exactly what I had in mind. Of a miniature gardener residence. Look at it! Isn't it pretty? I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Very respected gardener. Sorry. Very respected gardener residence. You can tell this gardener is well respected. They don't have just a humble home, they have a respectable residence. And it's quality, taken care of very well. Well taken care of and celebrated. They're very celebrated, respected and celebrated. So that's nice to see that. Other flags we should have is that shame in labeling. Just give them. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Excuse me. Give me one more flag over here. Oh. Nope. Not gonna do. Actually don't mind that there, and then we'll yeah, that that's fine. And we'll just add another flag over here, maybe. There we go, just to have some... Make sure it's cohesive. There we go. That's definitely a walkway to nowhere, but we can pretend it is to somewhere by adding another door. There we go. And another door there. Just like so. If you just be patient, you can see the game will do its thing. Not another door there. Excellent. Okay. Just delete that foundation we built earlier. Yeah, the stairs go up, do they? I was hoping, but it just gives you the visual that it goes up there. Cool. Excellent. I strongly feel like this is done, to be honest. I feel like this is done. Just add more. Wheelbarrow there. And another one here, just hiding there. Oh, this is nice, charming. Oh, isn't that a lovely garden that you would explore in real life? Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. It's inspired me. I really just want to go to the gardens now. Get off the computer, just go. Whoa. Oh, actually, we'll also just put a wall here. There we go. Because we don't want wind coming through. We don't want wind coming through here and disrupting the plants. Again, it is very controlled environment when it comes to gardening, like a nursery gardening. So I'd say that's far more realistic. Just everything gets taken into account when it comes to building in a video game, from what I've observed. There we go. That's a very respectable Gardner backyard. That wall could be the same color as this brick, but I feel like the town has celebrated the gardeners' efforts and they've decided to give them an upgrade. That's a storyline. Cool. Cool. And then now, because that's an opportunity to use a motif on there and just bring it all together. Could we create a doorway there? Yeah, excellent. If I had a path, it would create an even flow. Let's try and do that. Excuse me, sheep. Coming through. Nice. Excellent, and we'll just level it up. It's the same height. Almost. Cool, okay. Yep. Nice. Let's see. Let's put all of this here. I really would have liked a variation, but we're just gonna have to stick with these two types. Don't want pumpkins because it doesn't make any sense. Try and hide that fruit shape thing. Fruit item thing there. And let's just get one of these. Oh. Sorry, sheep. Pop this to the side here. It captures the sunlight really well. Like captures the sun lighting really well. It just looks amazing. We could say this is a smaller fence. I really wanted a door there, but the door would be open. That's the sort of type of door I wanted there. So we're just gonna leave that there. Doorless. Cute. Excellent. Just change the lighting. Get some lighting here. Could I put that on the wall actually? Yes. So I don't have to use this. And lighting over here. Sorry, just trying to get that. Lighting over here would be good. So we got lighting there, lighting over here. Oops. Oh, whoopsie. Oh, that's very modern. We want to kind of go with that. There we go. Less modernized lighting. More of a moody type of lighting design. One over here. We can't put one on the stairs. Does give it away though. That does draw attention. If I was to put one just here. Oh, I could do that over here so it gives an illusion. Beautiful. Excellent. Gives an illusion that you can go up the stairs. Or the, you know, the stairs way is open. Then we don't have to worry about putting a light there. Excellent. Let's put that door with the balcony. Oh, let's go back. There's a door, balcony. Oh. Oh, was that always like that? Oops. I did like the idea of privacy, but I do like also like the idea of the door with, there we go, that kind of gives it a special feature. Let's turn it back to daytime. That arch kind of resembles it, but it is a bit too I have to just change that one. That colour is a bit too grand. Let's get a dark colour. We don't want it to distract the person's eyes, so we'll go something closer to there we go. Hopefully they can be nice to see them open it up. Further away from the chimney. There we go. And they can open that up and have some sun rays in that side of the room. And let's see. Look fine at night. Gives it a story, mystery to it. Excellent. A little bit of drama too. I love it. I feel like this has been a good game. Good class. I feel like we've done a lot. I feel like we've learnt a lot. Definitely learnt a lot. Should I put one just right here so there we go. We have no bird's nest thing. You can't even see it from that angle, but as long as we know there's one there, it's kind of cute. Cool, and then I actually wanted to get a bird's actual nest, so we'll grab a copy from this side. Hello again. Goodbye, castle. Back to the Gardner home, and we'll place the bird's nest. Oh, we can't put it there. That's unfortunate. that's really out of character actually. The Gardner seems to be really handy. So they might have, maybe. I don't know. I've seen weird things like this where in nurseries we would just let nature do its thing, and nature usually gets its way. Like, animals just, they are priority in plant nurseries, so I would assume that this is fine. Having just random eggs on the floor. It could mean anything, honestly. It could be snake's eggs. Alright, cool. I feel like we're done, guys. Yeah. I just think we're done. I feel like that's... Whew! It was a lot of work. A lot of work, but I feel like that was worth it. Yep. Beautiful. Take a photo. Cute. Oh, that's so cute. I'd suggest to keep taking photos of every angle you can get, because usually it turns out better when you actually look at it at the end. So that's why I'm taking all these photos for you wondering, why is she taking so many photos? Well, that's the reason. Because you get a lot more options to select, choose from. Usually they always turn out good, so getting as much photo as possible. Oh, that is so pretty. Well, guys, if you've enjoyed this video, like really enjoyed it, give me a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Thank you for joining the class as well. I hope you guys picked up some notes, and I hope you learned a little bit, and I hope we learned about each other a little bit. And I'll see you in the next video. I'm so excited to make my next video. Anyway, I will see you guys next time. Thank you. Bye.